Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's episode of Late Night Q&A with ZodWriter. I am so excited. This is episode number 74, and with me, I have a fellow Illinois, fellow Chicagoan, my good friend, hip-hop artist extraordinaire, just released a brand new single for everybody to enjoy with El Presidente, Mr. Abu Nas, called Social Media Wars. If you have not heard that, I have provided links to all of El Divino Vega's appropriate sock meds in the description. You can go right to Spotify and you can click on it and get access to all of his stuff. Man, Vega, it is so great to have you here tonight. How are you, man?
Man, the honor is mine, brother. The honor is mine. I'm doing great. I was looking forward to this all day, man.
Yo, it's been a long time coming, man. I've been wanting to have you on here, and I swear this is the kind of show that I enjoy so much, especially when I get to talk to somebody that I think the world of you, man. You and we've been friends for a long time, and it's like these kind of shows are just so much fun and just there's always a lot to chop it up and talk about. And I think, man, I want to start with, man, what have you been up to? You've been a busy dude, bro. What's been going on?
Well, as you can see my backdrop.
Yeah, you got an awesome backdrop. I feel like everybody's got me beat. I got a wall in my couch.
Hey man, that's your look though. You know what I mean?
The couch is part of the show.
Part of
Like,
the show, man. Like it's its own character, man. No, but yeah, man. Look, I've been working. My actual job. As for those who don't know, I'm a truck driver, so I do that for a living. So when you don't see me like going crazy on social media, 9 times out of 10 it's because I'm on the road. But every time I come back, I try and stay busy, whether it's working on music, whether it's engaging online, trying to get this YouTube thing going. And as you said, the latest single to drop was Social Media Wars. I felt the timing of it couldn't have been any better. Salute to my brother, Abu Nas, Presidente. He's a real one, man. And I mean, I've been sitting on that one for a minute. I ain't gonna stunt. I've been sitting on that song for a minute. But I was waiting for the right time, and when I dropped it, I was like, "This is the time. Now's the time. The message needs to be heard. The social media beefs that be going on, these social media
Oh my God,
wars,
it's incredible. All
you
the
know,
crap that we deal with as fans of the Snyderverse, of the
right?
greater DCU,
Yep.
as representatives of hashtag Sil Nation. We
Yes,
are
sir.
all we are always under fire. We are always
Always.
underdogs. And again, Vega, I'll tell you something. I've got, my Spotify premium account, and I got Social Media Wars straight in there. I listened to it. You know what? I listened to it so much that Spotify has a section uh,
Mm.
for when you go on Spotify. For those that have Spotify, you know there's a special section, and I just have to click on it here, called on repeat. Okay, and when you listen to song, it's a list of about 30 songs, and when you are always on repeat listening to these songs, it's a public playlist. And I've listened to Social Media Wars so much, it is currently sitting at number 2 on my on repeat list on Spotify. So that's just to tell you, the you know kind of impact. I mean, ever since I heard the track, I've just been all about it. And I mean, we probably can't play it here because it'd get struck or something if we did. But
You, you would
it's
you
a
would
great
think they
track,
let it
honestly.
slide. You know what I mean? Like the artist
Oh,
himself.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yo!
know what I
I
mean?
got Vega literally on the stream, right? But no, it's okay. But no, I always find it hard to interview like musicians and hip hop artists and stuff on YouTube because when I used to do PSN radio, it was a
Mhm.
radio show, so I could
Mm.
queue up and I could play your music, and then I could ask you about the music. I could say, we're going to run social media wars and let everybody listen to it. And then I could ask you about it. We could talk about it, but it's hard to do that on YouTube because YouTube strikes everything. No matter what you play, no matter what you do, it's absolute insanity.
They're always
So
watching.
so all I'm telling everybody to do, I just refer you to the Spotify link. Definitely check out all of Il Divino Vega's awesome tracks, and you will not be disappointed. I mean, man, not only have you been busy with your everyday life and your hip hop and all the stuff, great stuff you're doing, and the stuff, the whole social media
Yeah.
Snyderverse kind of stuff. What is it that how do you balance it all? Like, what's your process between your day job, the normal stuff that you do,
Right.
in addition to the stuff that you're very, very passionate about, like your music?
No, yeah, good question. I mean, reality is for me, it's I have to place things in a list as far as like what comes first, like what's responsibilities wise, right? Like I got bills to pay, family to take care of, things of that nature. So it's like, you know, those are the things I try and knock out first, like right. So it's like my job first, things that my house, you know what I'm saying, like things I have to take care of here. Yeah. Last time you saw, I have a dog, so I have to take care of the dogs. You know what I mean? And after all is said and done, if I have time, I try and attack the music. I don't want to let that go. Like that is, like you said, that is a passion of mine. And it comes to me naturally. Like I could be listening to anything, Zod. Like sometimes, like, well, for instance, the momentary clarity, like that's the Joker, one of the Joker scores. I can be listening to that, watching the movie, and all of a sudden think like lyrics just start coming to my mind. Watching Stranger Things, the intro comes up and the lyrics come to my mind. The Beautiful Lie in BVS, when I first heard it, in the beginning of the movie, as I'm hearing it, lyrics are coming to my mind. You know what I mean? So like things like that just happen naturally for me. So it's kind of hard to stop doing music for me. You know what I mean? It's just like a constant thing in my brain that just every little thing can trigger it.
So when you're working and you're doing you're doing your truck driving thing,
Mhm.
are you constantly in your mind? Is your mind inner working, like,
Yes,
around music and songs and compositions that you have and
yes.
poetry? Because I know for me, I've been a struggling writer most of my life. I've been trying to write,
Mhm.
write, and I'm trying to finally finish up this book that I've been writing for a while, and I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm constantly thinking about it. And I remember one night I was laying in bed, and I don't know if I was dreaming, but
Mm,
my head was moving, and literally, because I had been writing so much, I think, the week prior, that when I was laying in bed, I was literally seeing the book
mm,
writing itself. Like, all these scenarios were just popping up in my head. This happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. And then by the end of it all, it was like I felt like I had written an entire book in my head.
mm.
And if I'd gotten up and actually decided to start writing all of that down, the
Right.
book essentially wrote itself. And all I needed to do was just write what I remembered from when I was
Right.
laying down. And I'm wondering if that's something that happens to you as an artist. When you get something in your head, it essentially writes itself, and
Yep.
then you just go from where you were at. Because I don't know, to me that was like the weirdest feeling I ever had. I'm like, oh my god, I just saw the whole book in my mind. Like,
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it happens for me, man. Like I'll be driving, and like I said, it could be anything. Full disclosure, from time to time I'll put on like movies while I'm driving, cross country, or like not cross country, but like far rides. I'll put on like a movie to entertain me a bit, like just some sounds. And yeah, dude, like or even anything. Honestly, it could be anything. Like it could, I do have like a playlist of beats that I'll throughout the week. I'll listen. I'll just pretty much go beat shopping. Like listening to instrumentals. And then the ones that I like the most, that like I feel like I'm like jamming to the most, vibing to, I'll save it onto like a playlist of mine. Uh, and when the work week comes, then that's the playlist I'm playing while I'm driving. And whichever one is the first one to like inspire me, that's the one usually I'm playing it back to back. Lyrics are coming to my mind as I'm driving, and usually I'll like record myself, or quick action, I'll go on my like my notes app and write down like a few bars so that I don't forget what came to my mind. And then it's the same thing whether it's if I'm watching a movie, or even sometimes even when I'm like watching you guys, you know what I mean? It could be the conversation you guys are having that sparks up a discussion of rap in my mind, of something that I want to rap about. You know what I mean? So it could be anything, man. But yeah, and I've even like same like you, like I've had dreams, man, where I'm just, you know, I'm so in the zone sometimes that my dreams are that itself as well. So yeah,
It's the most fascinating thing in the
it is
world.
very fascinating.
And you wake up and you think to yourself, am I that creative, or have I just been thinking about it too much? You know, like it's all this stuff that you're going. It's like when you're intoxicated or drunk, and you start writing something,
Right.
and you think it's the most brilliant thing in the world that you've ever written, and you save it, and then you wake up the next day and you read it and you're like, what in God's name was I thinking? This is insane. I can't include this in whatever I'm doing. I can't add this to a song, or throw this into my book. This is out of control. But you think it's the most brilliant thing ever. And it's
Right.
like your mind, it's all these creative synapses that I think it gets in your mind. And you just have to figure out a way to manifest it and put it all out there. And
Right.
I just again, I'm so impressed with the kind of music that you've been able to put out, because
Mhm.
you did a great theme song for our good friend Lord Kojay's Snyder Cut Fighters, the
Yeah.
salute to the release the Snyder Cut movement. And then
Yep.
you put out a bunch of your own great tracks, and now you just did Social Media Wars. You put that out with Abu Nas, and it's so amazing. But the one thing I got to ask you about now at this
Yeah.
point is, how did you come up with the lyrics for the Coffee Talk anthem for Sil Abdul Inc? Because that is, because you know how our buddy Sil is blowing
Yeah.
up. I mean, Sil is
Yeah.
huge right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, how did you do that? That's an incredible track, brother.
Yeah. Well, so here's the funny part, man. Like, even before me and Sil like talked about it, right? Like, I remember when the intro would come on, that played for the first coffee talk ever, right? And I'm like, man, that's a pretty cool beat, man. Like, I low key want to rap to it. So like low key, I kind of was that beat was already simmering in my mind, in my very soul, so to speak. I was simmering, that beat was simmering, and I was already kind of like, again, like I said, if something hits me, lyrics already start coming to me. Um, but it wasn't something that I pursued necessarily, or it was one of those things more so like I had it in my mind to ask Sil, like, hey man, like, what if I rap to this or something? Um, or maybe even we had that discussion before, and I think he was even trying to have like a collaboration with like me and Abu Nas and I think somebody else, but either way, like it wasn't something concrete just yet. It was just something in the air. And then I just remember one time he reached out to me and he's like, hey, what do you think about like rapping to making a rap song for the channel? And I'm like, like, yeah, I got you, man. Like, because like low key, I've already been, like I said, that one
So
instrumental.
those, so those lyrics were there
They were
already. You
already
just
there.
you
They were
just
already
you had
there.
just you had just had it in your head, and it was coming there, and it was already written before Sil even
Of
came
course,
to you and
even
said, "Hey,
came to
let's
me,
do
man.
this." Wow.
Yeah, dude.
Now that's talent and that's creativity right there.
Yeah.
When your mind is always moving on that level and
Right.
you're focusing, with laser precision on what you want to say and what you want to do, it's absolutely amazing. I
No, yeah,
mean,
for sure, for
wow.
sure. I
Wow.
mean, so then it's crazy because he sent me two beats, right? He sent me the one for the coffee talk, and then he sent me the espresso one. And I had every intention of doing both, like giving him something to work with both. But that coffee talk one was the one that just from the jump, like I said, I already had something for it. But as you know, there's four different verses for the song. Like there's it's technically an entire
It's an entire track
it's an
that should be on your album at
yeah,
this point,
yeah,
Vega. Like that's not, we should be having this conversation. The song should be on the
right,
Spotify
right.
playlist. It should be ranking right in the top 5 with social media wars on my
Right,
personal
right.
playlist. I'm just saying, bro.
Right, no, 100%. But the thing is I told Sil, like, hey, this is for you. This is your track. And here's the thing, even fighters, same thing. I told Koja, like, this is your song. Like, do with it as you please. Like, this is my gift to you guys. Like, so the fighters was for Koj. The coffee talk anthem was for Sil. Koj just so happened to be that he's like, um I want you to put it on your I want you to put it on your like music stuff. So, and I even asked him, like, are you sure, dude? Because, like, even if that's what you want to do, I'm willing to do that for you. Like, just go ahead. That's for your channel, because that way he can play it off of his channel. That was my intentions for him. In the same way that Sil's able to use the Coffee Talk anthem for his channel, since it's not out there for it to be stricken down. I gave Koja the same opportunity with fighters. I'm like, hey, like this could be your song for your Snyder Cut fighters. Just whenever you play, use it as an intro for your channel. And Koja has a way of just showing love back in return, and that's his way. And he's like,
Oh,
yeah, no,
absolutely.
you know,
And that's something too. He's such a kind soul, and
yeah,
he's a very, very caring person. And
yes,
I've noticed, I've noticed that over time too. He's also very giving, and
yes,
he wants to spread the love and show everybody that, that's what it's all about. Like, that's one of the things that, that's one of the things I'm grateful for, in this movement of having so many friends that
right,
I feel like I've gotten to know over time that are just wonderful people. It's like,
yes,
it's hard to, and when we see all of these negative narratives that
hmm,
surround us as, people in, like, release the Snyder Cut, restore the Snyderverse, whatever, anything that has to do with Snyder has this negative stigma attached to it.
yeah,
But it's like, when I think about it as a whole, all I'm thinking about is all of the wonderful people that I've met, all of the
right,
friendships that I've gained from it, and all of the people who I know that I would have absolutely no connection to whatsoever, yourself included,
right,
if it wasn't for, this movement that
yes,
we're all a part of. And so, to me, I just, you can look at the movement in any way you like, and you can have your opinions on it,
right,
but that's one thing that I don't think anybody can deny. If they were really a part of it from the beginning, if they really genuinely care. And I think that's the part that we're all missing. I mean, because we've been fighting for so long. Like, your social media war song,
yeah,
for example, is so apropos to this entire thing.
yeah,
When that track, whenever I listen to that track, that's what I think about. I think about the movement, and I think about all the yahoos that we've had to deal with, all the negativity, all of the ridiculousness. And it's like the main message is, do something else.
yes,
Touch some grass. Be
yes,
thankful for the things that you have, and the friendships that you've made, and and the great and the good things in this world, and be positive, and understand that life is short, and we're trying to do something good here. So we
Right.
should be able to drown out all that negativity and all that ridiculousness, and being so tethered to social media on that level is completely unhealthy. So
It
I
is. Yeah.
so I for me, I look at it like being happy, in the sense that, yes, all of these people that I know, all of these people that I've met, all of these friendships that I have, that we've managed to keep. I mean, we've lost some along the way, but we've managed to keep a good amount of them, and I'm very, very thankful for that. So it just underscores, you know, the beautiful aspects of all the talented and kind-hearted people that we've met throughout our time in this thing, since it started in like 2017. So I mean, I don't know about you, but I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't want to fight anymore, and I really don't care. I'm just thankful for what I've garnered from it, and I'm trying to look at everything positively at this point.
No, 100%. Like, so, the song going, like you said, social media wars, in fact, is meant to point that out. Um, I like, if you break down some of the lyrics, right? I say, you know, I go, um, say what you gotta say, get it all off your chest, nothing more, nothing less. Isn't that what Twitter's for? Clout, right? And then it says, and all these other platforms, followers who has more, you have found your reward. Because if that's what you're going for, well, then that's your reward, right? If all you're caring for is for followers, then by all means, then that's what you're on here for. But that's not what I'm here for, right? That's my whole thing. And yet somehow, despite the fact, like, there's a lot of us that are, trying to make our own path, so to speak, on these platforms, and just network and engaging and making friends along the way, especially throughout this movement. And somehow we somehow still get sucked into this narrative of just like nonstop, you know fighting, or social media wars, whether it's against certain factions, whether it's against the just like the corporations, and or the tabloids, and these different hit pieces. And it just seems, no matter how, somehow, some way, you're always getting sucked in, right? But then, to your point, where like, the point is like, this is all, it's a facade, so to speak, right? Like, it's, this screen stuff, engaging on social media, it's only a part of what we do. It isn't who we are. So that's why I say, one of the bars I say, what I say, let's talk about it. You be about it, I be up out it, right? So you are about this social media stuff, but I be up out it. I'm out of this social media stuff. This isn't what I partake in, right? So then I say, so reliant on social media, how would you be without it? Non-existent. Your entire system would just be a flop, right? So like, my whole point is, you put, like, for those who put so much, like, their all their stock into this, not realizing, like, look, there's real life around us, there's real people to engage with, to build friendships with, to build relationship with, rather than this fighting and bickering about, even like these, like, not to make a light of what people might care for, but like, for instance, today, there's this bickering about the Black Adam trailer, and it's like, yo, like, who cares, man? Like, who cares? Like, the interesting part about it is just that somehow, some way, this turned into something about, like, you have to, like, choose certain sides. And for me, it's like, hey, I'm up out of that. Like, I'm not in that.
Yeah,
You know what I
I'm in
mean?
complete agreement, because
Hmm.
sides. This is not a war.
Right.
This is not a battle where you have to choose. You can only have, these friends over here, and then you have to hate everybody else, and you have to commit to one direction single-mindedly.
Right.
This is not a, this is not the kind of thing where it's, where it's a relationship and you're trying to find your one true love and you have to commit to that one true love and nothing else and for the rest of your natural life. And you're not, that's not what we're talking about here.
Right.
We're at a point where it's like, I feel like I'm blessed to have met so many great people that I collaborate with all the time, that I love talking to, love being around, some of the greatest people that I could have ever known, and I've never met up with them personally, physically in
Exactly.
real life, and that says a lot. That's
Yes.
a
No,
testament to
100%.
how
100%.
beautiful this whole thing is, and that's why when I look at all the things that are going on now, and I love the fact that you brought up the nonsense about the Black Adam trailer. I think there's like a 2-second thing in there where there's like a 2-second scene from Justice League that was included in there, and all it is it's Batman's Batarang. I think it's not
Well,
even
yeah.
it's not even an offending shot, really. It's just something that and so Vega, I'm at the point where I don't really know where it stops at this point, because if you're a part of, here's the thing, if you're a part of Sil Nation and you follow Sil Abdul and Mikey Sutton, then you're living far into the future when it comes to all this superhero nonsense. You already know what to expect from DC. You know what to expect, what's going on, but David Zaslav has a 10-year plan for DC. You understand what's going on. Henry Cavill is going to be back for Black Adam. He's going to be in a post-credit scene or a scene in the movie or something. We're aware of this. We already know this because we listen to the right people. And Mikey gets all this flack, Sil gets all this flack, and they're right. They're always right, but yet somehow they're being held to a higher standard than all these other scoopers that constantly get things wrong, like Grace Randolph, Umberto Gonzalez, John Campea, all these people that constantly make mistakes, get things wrong, don't know what they're talking about, and yet everything that goes wrong, gets blamed on Sil and Mikey. And I feel like they've been straight with us this entire time. And you obviously feel that way, considering that you made the Coffee Talk theme song. Because that's one thing that people don't realize. If you don't support somebody, you don't support something, you're not going to collaborate with them because you don't support them and you don't believe in what they stand for.
Right. Well, so here's the thing. It's so okay, three things. First, to your point before, is that this is about who we connect with, right? Like who we've I guess built something with, right? That's why, like, for me personally, when it came to social media wars, after all is said and done, right? Like my first verse, Abu's second verse, where we're throwing shots, right? I mean, the title itself it is a shot thrown, right? Like social media wars. Like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? It's not something real, really. It shouldn't be nothing real, but somehow it is. So like the title itself is really the joke, right? Like, how the hell are we now at a point where there's such a thing that we're on social media having all these beefs and wars, right? But nonetheless, when I get to the third verse, I originally had another artist featured on the song, so it was supposed to be like three different artists. For whatever reason, it didn't work out with him, but to my benefit, I felt it led me to a point where, like, I didn't want to make the song just about throwing shots, and not in a sense of like I'm trying to bring anybody down, but throwing shots in the sense of like I'm just trying to check people on the reality of things, right? As well as I feel Abu Nas did on his verse. So come that third verse, if you notice, it's like a complete it's a 180, right? Like, it now, instead of throwing shots, now I wanted to focus in on a relationship that I've built throughout this process with someone who I never thought I would have, referring to, Abu Nas. Like, he's like a brother to me, right? So like, and that's why at that third verse, I went out of my way to like focus in on this brotherhood, or this relationship of a brotherhood that I've built with this brother who in any other paradigm or in any other reality, you would have never thought, right? Like, he's technically Muslim, and I'm a Christian, and people probably think like, oh, they would never mingle, whatever. But this community, this movement, brought us together, and we're like, we're cool, like we're cool with each other, like, despite these, how do you say, identity stigmas that people want to play.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
ideological differences.
Yeah,
you could say.
And they like, oh, so like it's like, oh, but that's why I wanted. I'm like, let me hone in on this, because this is the beauty of what happened here on these platform, on this movement, and what's been going on is that two brothers from with two different ideologies, but also similar, but things that we also do have in common, which brought us together, which is our love for hip hop, our love for like Star Wars, the Snyderverse, and like all these things that would like, yo, like that's what brought us together, and those are the things we focus in on. And it's created a beautiful relationship. So that's that. To the whole Black Adam thing, yeah, it's silly because it was funny because like I posted like after a while I'm seeing everybody go crazy over this 2-second explosion that's in the Justice League cut, whatever. And really, the only part that bothered me in the whole trailer was the fact that Harley Quinn is the person and the cutscene from Birds of Prey that they decide to show when it's referring to the villains of the DCEU, and it's Harley Quinn walking from in Birds of Prey. And I thought that was like the most silliest shot you could have chosen if you did want to use Harley. Like if you really wanted to demonstrate her as a villain, why would you use her in it from a film where she's really the protagonist?
They should have used Jared Leto's Joker.
That's exactly my point.
That. They should have used that shot that Zach seen that Zach shot where the scene where Joker is like wearing the crown of thorns.
Yes.
Jesus' crown of thorns, and he's like doing like a Christ
exactly what
they should have used. They should have used something like that to demonstrate.
If they were really about it, you know which one they would have used? They would have used the David Ayer shot of the grenade, the blow up on his face, that kind of comes around and he says something. I forget what he says. If they really like, that's who I would have shown. I definitely feel like that was a shot you should have used. That's the guy you should have shown when you're talking about villains. Like that's the guy you want to show. But whatever, they chose Harley Quinn, and then not only that, like I said, then they go with the Birds of Prey shot when you could have used like a Suicide Squad shot where she's actually doing something villainous rather than something heroic, So, but nonetheless, that was what to me was the funniest thing about the whole trailer. It wasn't even the Justice League thing.
I don't think and that's why I left this up here. Bat Dan, you said, what did you guys think of that Black Adam trailer? And we're actually talking about it right now. So I'm leaving it up here like it's a topic bumper. Right. But here's the thing. I don't really think The Rock knows how to incorporate all of DC into whatever he's trying to do. I think he's focused on some sort of paradigm shift in which he wants to make Black Adam the star of the DCEU, period. Mm-hmm. And then everything else is just kind of an afterthought. And to your point, that's exactly what this trailer kind of looks like, because you're throwing in shots here that are completely out of context to try and underscore whatever your message is, and then you're going to say before the age of heroes, and then you want to basically just throw in a bunch of random shots. I mean, they might as well have thrown Christopher Reeve in there at that point. I mean, I wasn't exactly sure what they were going for. Right. And to me, it's like, okay, I'm kind of okay with Black Adam. I want to see it. I think it has potential to be a decent movie. I just don't want it to be The Rock trying to overshadow everything. Right. The Rock needs to realize that if he's going to be a part of DC, he's going to be a part of DC. Right. Okay. Right. And that means you're part of an ensemble. That means that you have to be a team player, and you have to understand that there are other superheroes, there are other characters going to be developed and going to be pushed throughout
Right.
whatever this new 10-year plan that David Zaslav has. So when I look at the trailer, I'm just like, is it really all about you, or are you at least making an effort to to include the greater DC? I don't know, but I really wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I think he, if it wasn't that he was trying to, here's the thing, we have to, like, if they were them being the trying to bring in Black Adam into the fold, they have to find a way to incorporate his character in the DCU canon or whatever continuity. um Preferably, obviously, we want the Snyderverse continuity, right? um Even so, when they mentioned the Age of Heroes, right, like, the only shot they use really when they show the heroes that I guess people could try and question would be, I guess, Aquaman, right? Like, they chose to go with Arthur Curry from the Aquaman movie. And I know a lot of people still feel like that film doesn't fall in line with the Snyderverse, based upon, like, I guess, the things that are happening in that movie. And the reasons are adamant. Ray, appreciate you.
Much love, Rhea.
Much love. So, like, I could see why that's a thing. Although, like, contrary to that, though, Jason Momoa has gone on record saying his film is in, like, he believes it's in the Snyderverse. So based off of what he says, and even things that I guess James Wan has said, you can say, well, they're saying it's in the Snyderverse, so let's just go with that, right? So all that said and done, then it's like, and villains, right? And you got Steps Gaming, appreciate you. Then you got the explosion for 2 seconds, which, again, like I said, I didn't really care for much for it, and people even went out of their way to, like, zoom in on, I guess, what would be Steppenwolf's helmet from the Justice League. I didn't even notice, really. I watched it off my phone, so I don't think I would have ever been able to catch that. But then, like I said, then it shows Harley, and to me, it's like, to your point, it's like, if you're really trying to make the statement of, Black Adam being some sort of next thing to fear, why would you choose Harley Quinn as the villain that brings fear, when we know for sure up to this point, at least within the canon that you guys decided to create for this character, there's nothing fearsome about her. She's almost a hero. She's an anti-hero. She's more than she's a villain. You could have chosen Joker. That would have been a better villain to put. You could have chosen Darkseid, Steppenwolf, from Zack Snyder's Justice League. You could have chosen, heck, Ares. You could have gone with, and that's that I didn't really like him as a villain too much, but definitely a better villain than Harley. But all that to say that he incorporates this to, I feel, to make sure that his character is going to somehow exist in this universe.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I don't think, and here's the thing, even after all was said and done, right? Warner Brothers takes down the video, he takes down the video, and they fixed the error, which to me, I would have preferred that they took in Harley Quinn out and put in, somebody else. And
put in Darkseid. If you really want to, this is the thing. If you really want to get a rise out of people, show Darkseid. Why are you showing me Harley Quinn at this point?
Yes. Yes.
Please stop with the Margot Robbie hero worship.
Yes.
I mean, my goodness, it's getting out of hand. And I'm just like, okay, so I think a lot of people are, again, under the impression that, because there were Justice League shots in this trailer, that the movie is going to follow theatrical cut continuity.
Right.
And I think what people need to understand is this is a 10-year plan. This is, like Sil and Mikey have been saying, hashtag new DC.
Yep.
I think, and this is just my take on it, I think it's going to incorporate elements from everything. I think you're going to have elements from the theatrical cut. You're going to have elements from Zack Snyder's Justice League. But you're ultimately going to have a new continuity that is going to be able to be cultivated over a 10-year time period. Right. And therefore, you're going to have new stories. You're going to have different dynamics between people. I mean, there's no telling what kinds of things this Flash movie is going to change, what types of things are going to be retconned or whatever. So you got to kind of look at it like that. We don't know exactly the direction they're going in, but we know we're getting more Cavill. We know we're getting more Batfleck. We
Right.
know we're getting. It's to the point. And we know we're most likely getting more Zack Snyder too.
We
If
are.
we've been
We are.
listening to Sil and Mikey, according to them, we're getting more Zack Snyder. At this point, I can honestly say that I'm not worried about what they're going to do with the timeline per se, because I know that whatever they're going to do, they're going to make room for everything. I feel like this is going to be a DC where there's going to be something for everybody in there. So if you're a fan of the Snyderverse, there's going to be Snyderverse elements. If you actually enjoyed the theatrical cut of Justice League, there's going to be stuff that ties in to that. If you're, and then Black Adam looks like it's its own thing. It's, you got
Well,
Justice Society, you've got
yeah.
Dr. Fate, you've got, I don't, so I'm not really, and we got the fact that this Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves is coming out.
Right.
So I don't really, I'm to the point where I feel like they're going for a greater DCEU. They want to have this entire universe built over 10 years. And unfortunately, for people that want 100 single-minded devotion to Zack Snyder's timeline, I don't think you're going to get that. That ship has sailed. So you need to be, if you're a DC fan, you need to be open to what DC is going to do and put your trust in what is going to happen moving forward. And I feel like there's a certain section of this fandom that doesn't have the ability to do that, Vega. They want Snyder's original plan for DC, which isn't even Snyder's plan anymore. So I'm kind of, it's sort of, and again, there's some people in the fandom that have said that things like, they even feel like Zack Snyder's Justice League was a compromised movie.
Right.
And therefore, to them, Zack Snyder's Snyderverse is only Man of Steel and BVS and maybe Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a sad way of looking at things.
For me, yeah, no, I agree 100%. It's like you just can't have it all. I feel like, you know what I mean? But and here's the thing, like, first off, I will say, like, that notion, hey, if that's really how you look at it, it's like, man, that's a sad way of looking at it, because, Zach was at least still given the privilege to come back and give us a film that was definitely way better than the crap we got in 2017, like way leagues better, and the fact is that they took down the video. They they took down the video. They Rock took down the video, and then they put it back up, and they actually put in Zack Snyder's Justice League scene, right? Like, or I don't even know if it was that actually. I'm still trying to pinpoint what clip they decided to take out. They took out to place it in. I want to say it's Steppenwolf coming in, but I'm not so sure. I can't really. It's such a short clip. That's what I'm saying. Like, it really didn't really matter. But that goes to show that they are listening, or like my boy Good Austin said in the chat group, is that this was all probably part of their play, right? They're like, we're gonna put this, this oopsies out there, get this buzzing. We're gonna have a lot of fan made, edited trailers of this. That's gonna go around the buzzer as well. Which some of the fan ones were, I wish were the official ones, because they chose the right clips, in my opinion, following the dialogue of Amanda Waller talking. And then, like I said, then they eventually put out this corrected version, where it allows The Rock to show that he is a man of the people and that he is listening to the cries of the public and he's willing to accept when he's wrong. And everybody played into it like and I'm not even knocking it. I'm like, that's kind of genius, you know? That's kind of genius. I can't be mad at that. So
was it not? But my question is,
yeah,
was it? And this is just where my mind is. Was it The Rock that made that decision, or was it David Zaslav that came to The Rock and said, "Yo, you need to take out those Justice League shots and replace them with Zack Snyder shots"?
Well, you know, here's the thing. I don't even think The Rock actually has anything to do with it, to be honest with you. Like, let's be honest, even Zach's got on record before when it came to other like BVS, where or even for a certain point there with the Zack Snyder Justice League, where there are certain things that WB was doing with marketing on their own, and that he eventually kind of had to like get control of that to control the narrative. But in BVS, we know for sure the marketing team is a different thing. Like, they just decide to put trailers together and moronically put stuff out there that doesn't need to be seen in these trailers before the release. So honestly, I don't even think it's The Rock has anything. I feel like it's some third party, or maybe again just the people, whoever's in charge of the marketing and putting these trailers together. They put it out there, or they tell Rock, hey, here's the trailer we just put together, put it out there. He does his thing. Warner Brothers posts it on YouTube, and then the backlash comes, right? And then now at that point, like you said, maybe it is David, maybe it is The Rock, or maybe they're all in on it. And again, this was all just to formulate clicks, talks, and engagement.
Yeah, thinking like our good friend Mr. West Ashley, where we've talked about this all the time. Shout out to Pilly.
Shout out to
again, the idea that they're all in on it. It's all about engagement and bringing in the money, bringing in the fan base, because this is something that they obviously want to do. Right. They want to unite DC. They want to have all the fans. They want to have the people that liked the theatrical cut, the people that liked the Snyder cut, the people that liked the other DCEU movies. They want us all to come together in one big pot and buy tickets to see these movies and to be excited about these films.
Yes.
So it makes sense from a marketing perspective for it to have worked out exactly the way you talked about it. And Bat Dan's thoughts. What's up, Bat Dan? Says, I care about actions more than words. If James Wan didn't make his film fit within the Snyderverse, then I don't care about his or Momoa's words. You know what? I didn't really think that, to tell you the truth, I didn't really think Aquaman, and this is just my opinion, that Aquaman really fell in with the Snyderverse. I kind of felt like Aquaman was its own thing. Mm-hmm. And I almost looked at Aquaman like it was in its own pocket universe. Kind of like how I was looking at Black Adam at first, thinking Black Adam is in its own pocket universe, before people started talking about David Zaslav's 10-year plan, and shout out to Sil Nation and all these various things that we're hearing now. But when you look at it, okay, when you look at Aquaman, again, I wasn't a big fan of the movie. I didn't think it was great, but I went to see it because of Jason Momoa's loyalty to the fandom and his loyalty to Zack Snyder, and how he literally was ride or die for the release of the Snyder Cut. He's literally got videos shouting for Warner Brothers to release the effing Snyder Cut.
That dude have balls.
So we're looking at a guy that knows how to market to the fan base. We're looking at a guy who's done everything right, and because of that, I'm going to support anything Jason Momoa does, because I know Jason Momoa has the right mindset.
He does. He was with Zach from the beginning, so like it's hard to knock him. It's hard to even Bat Dan, you're the homie, man. But come on, man, you want to talk about actions? Jason Momoa showed the most actions out of
Out of
everybody in the
every
cast,
actor, out of
out of
every
everybody in the
actor.
cast, showing that
Yeah,
he had Zach's back. But not
buddy.
only that,
Eh,
the
yeah,
thing
it's
is
gonna be
this.
him.
Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. But not only that, the thing is this too. Like even when it comes to the Aquaman film, like you know, I know people want like this. They want the reality to have been that maybe James Wan and Jason say, oh, even though you came in and you put in this version of Justice League that we didn't want to have our film be a part of, so we're gonna go out of our way to make a film that still goes in with a film that doesn't even exist at that time being. You feel me? You know what I mean? The Snyder Cut technically wasn't a thing, because the Justice League just came out. So they can't just like, you know what I'm saying? Like they can't just somehow make narratives in the film, like let's just say like, I know like I said, some people say like, oh, the air bubbles, them talking in water sounding like dolphins, like they didn't do that. They can somehow talk normal, uh, you know, uh things of that nature, right? And it's like in the end of the day, they still have to follow whatever the pattern was. At the end of the day, unfortunately, Zach was kicked off the project apparently, and they had Joss Whedon come in and do his weird take of the Justice League, and they had to follow that. You know what I mean? So like, even for them, it's like, could Aquaman have been somehow more close to Zack Snyder's Justice League with there being an uncertainty of it coming out? You know what I mean? Like people just saw Justice League. I don't even think that the film would have been greenlit. Like I feel like even if Warner Brothers spent all the money on it, I don't think they would have greenlit it, because then that would have been like that would have been them accepting a smack in their face saying, "Oh yeah, like I don't think there's a world that exists where they would have been like, this movie of yours, Aquaman, we feel like you guys are tying it into the Justice League movie of Zack Snyder that we don't have any intentions of putting out, but we're still gonna put yours out anyway." Like that just doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so like in the end of the day, James Wan, and James Wan more so than I think Jason, had to do what he had. He had to work with what he had to work with. So I can't really knock him for not being able to have everything be more in tune with Zack Snyder's Justice League, especially in a time when, again, whether that movie was coming out or not was uncertain. So he was gonna have to do what he had to do regardless. So yeah, I mean, but beside that, yeah, like to second your notion, Jason Momoa, out of all the actors, out of all the cast, he was the first one like that I saw like out there talking about, release the Snyder cut, doing showing videos in interviews. The man's being interviewed and he's talking about it like, yeah, the cut exists, it's dope as hell, and the people need to see it. We all need to watch it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, this guy was out of like his not that his career was on the line, because at that point he was too big for them to
He's
like knock off.
huge.
Yeah,
He's
he was too
huge.
big for
And
them to knock off
that's
his
the great
career.
thing about Jason Momoa. He
Yes,
was blowing up and he's huge. So and they can't do nothing to him. He can say whatever he wants now. What are
yes,
they gonna do? That's the
exactly.
best part
That's the
about it.
best part. And he
It's
utilized it. He utilized it. You know what I mean? He utilized it, and he was on Front Street before anybody. Not as far as the cast talking about, release the Snyder cut. People need to see
exactly.
that this cut exists. I mean, and he's shown nothing but love to Zach, man. Like, there's the video of him like going to Zach's house and bought him that camera. Like,
Right, all that, and then all of his little Instagram posts and all that.
yeah,
And Batdan's thoughts here. Another good comment from Batdan here says the Flash film could retcon Aquaman to fit with the Snyderverse. It's
yeah,
possible,
yeah.
but again, I don't think. And this is, and again, I could be completely wrong, but this is just me. I don't think that whatever this new continuity is going to be, I don't think it's going to be 100% Snyderverse. I think it's going to be an amalgam of a lot of different things, and they're just going to take elements that were popular. So chances
Yeah,
are we'll probably get, we'll get Darkseid again. Most likely we'll get Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, and we'll get all this other stuff too. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have a patched you're going to have a patched DCEU timeline that's going to be able to incorporate so much. And I think as a DC fan, you should be excited for that because number one, Zack Snyder can't direct DC films for the rest of his life. He has other projects and other things that he's working on. We get criticized in the Restore the Snyderverse movement for not being, apparently we're not supportive enough of Zack Snyder's other projects. And yet, there's virtually nothing out there on Rebel Moon, really. Every once in a while we get a picture or we get a little blurb from Zack every now and then off of Vero with regards to Rebel Moon. But Zack is clearly thinking about DC still.
Yes.
Okay. And he wants, so he wants us to continue thinking about DC. And in regards to thinking about DC, I'm all about thinking about DC and looking forward to the films, but I just don't want to fight anymore. I just don't feel like it's necessary to fight. I think we accomplished what we needed to accomplish as a fandom, getting the Snyder Cut released. According to Zack, getting the Snyder Cut released was a lot harder than actually what Restore the Snyderverse would be. Because Zack can adapt his other stories to fit into the greater DCEU. He can build off of the foundation and add lots of elements and things. And Zack has shown he can play well with others. And if they've actually gotten The Rock to realize that, hey, your Black Adam is just another cog in the machine, and you got to play nice with all of these other DC properties and all of these other ideas, then I think over the next 10 years as DC fans, I think we're in good shape.
100%. I mean, look, here's the thing. Like, even Zack, appearing on Teen Titans Go, like that in itself was a power move. You know what I mean? Like when you see somebody released the stats of I guess just the crazy amount of views that episode had compared to like other episodes within, I guess, that cartoon. The fact that they talk about him as they mention him as an A-list director in that whole cartoon. I don't know if you got to see that episode.
I did. Get to see it. I loved every moment of it, and I'm glad you brought it up because I did want to talk to you about it too. I think, and I'll go ahead, and before I comment on Teen Titans Go, I want to read Neo 7's. Shout out to Marcus, Neo 7. If they want the exact same thing that Snyder had planned 6 to 7 years ago, they might as well quit the fandom. I couldn't agree more. And honestly, there's this group of people doing a motion comic based on Zack Snyder's original storyboards. It's called Project Justice League. And if you want to see it, you can go to the Four Nerds Network YouTube channel and you can watch the first part. I think they got a second part coming out, and they're going to combine them and do like an ultimate cut of some type or something at some point. So if you want those original storyboards, they're actually acted out for you, and you can enjoy that. And that was what Zack originally planned. Right. But other than that, yeah, I agree. You need to move on. Well, not move on, but you might as well quit the fandom if that's what you're fighting for, because there's no way you're going to get that. And I'm not saying that to throw shade at them. It's just that at this point, with everything that we're seeing, everything that we're hearing, and again, as supporters and members of Sill Nation, we are so far into the future. Thanks again to Sill and Mikey. Again, we know so much now that there's no way that's happening. That original vision of just pure Snyder, you're not getting that. So if you want pure Snyder, I'm not going to tell you need to move on, but I feel like it's a futile fight at this point.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It's not necessarily move on. Do what you do, but just know like it's a dead cause. Like whatever you think you're fighting for, if it's like you want to watch the original thing, it's like you said, go watch the that project, that they're doing, whatever it's called. I forget what it's called, but if you're really interested, and hey, that in itself, that motion comic, they might actually be cool. Um, but for me, I'm more interested in what Zach can do with what he's given, right? Like, I feel like, um, you know, for me personally, you got all these different characters now that didn't exist before he left. Now they exist. Now that we know for sure he's coming back. As you said, we're ahead already. We know he's back. Salute to Soda Mikey for giving, just giving us, just nothing but pure gold, really, at this point.
Right. I mean, we're not really getting any more bourbon because we did get bourbon
We
early
were
on.
getting bourbon
And
early
for
on.
those that don't follow Sil and Mikey and don't know, bourbon is the term that was used by Sil and Mikey
Right.
whenever they would give us bad news or tell
Yeah.
us things we didn't want to hear. Shout out to the great and beautiful Belle Reeve. What's up, Belle? Good,
Reef.
good to see you as always. Much love to you, Belle.
There.
Honestly, though, it's one of those things where, like, you know, you have an idea in your head now. We know that we're going to get more Zack Snyder, and we know
Right.
we're going to get more Zack Snyder elements in the greater DCEU. And there's been a lot of talk about, black label projects and various different things. And I mean, could you imagine Zack Snyder directing like a black label, like Lex Luthor film?
Mm.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking maybe the black label is a direction that Zach can go if he wants to do these smaller character driven stories
Right.
about some of his other iterations that he brought to DC.
Right. Right. No, the possibilities are endless, really. Like, with the merger now, it's almost inevitable that, I mean, the sky's the limit, man. You know what I mean? Like, there's really no constraints right now. Here's the thing. Like, I don't even think necessarily that that the Justice League, it's like that's even a thing. It sucks that people are holding on to that like narrative, right? Like,
Well, and it's post traumatic stress syndrome.
yeah,
Hey,
it is for sure, because that's definitely what you're seeing. It's like, because like the moment that trailer came out, the Black Adam trailer, and 2 seconds of an explosion, somehow they were able to see the color grading is the same as Justice League. It's like, oh my god, it's like they're waiting for it, and it's like, because they just want to prove the point that, oh no, they want to continue to adapt the Justice League. But the fact that they removed it today, to it took it out, is a saying, it to me says they don't care for the Justice League movie. I think, like, if anybody now has an issue with, like, let's say Aquaman or Birds of Prey, or any other film that came after it, I think we might have to deal with the fact that these films, somehow, some way, they're gonna find a way to link it to the overall cinematic universe that the new DC that they're gonna create. But I still have faith that Zach is back, and that gives him more characters to play with
right,
going forward.
right. Zach is going to be able to do what he wants to do. He's going to be able to do his Justice League 2 and 3. And I've said this before. If Zach doesn't direct another DC movie outside of Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, I don't care. I don't even care if he doesn't direct Man of Steel 2. If they get another director for Man of Steel 2, I could
Right.
care less, because Zach's plan was a 5-film arc. So all of these people complaining, saying, well, no, Zach's not doing his original vision. We're not getting pure Snyder. And I highlighted, Bell, your comment, pure Snyder, I'll just watch BVS. That's what the mentality is for a lot of these people. They believe that it's only Man of Steel and BVS. That's pure Snyder.
To her point, and here's the thing, to that caption, she's saying BVS is pure Snyder.
It is.
But it is, we all know it is, but even he's on record saying that they interfered with that movie.
Yeah,
So is it truly
yeah.
Pure
And not,
Snyder?
and not only
Or
that, we've since found out, Bell, okay,
right,
that Zack Snyder didn't want to rush into BVS. We've
yes,
since found out that he's gone. That there's been record of him saying he had a bigger buildup
right.
to that. Like
So
BVS would have eventually happened.
yeah,
So
but
can we say that is pure Snyder? That's a good
well,
question.
right. But the thing is, what I'm trying to say is we can, and what I'm trying to get at it is have faith that whatever he is given, he can make a masterpiece out of. He
Yes,
wasn't trying to
yes.
rush into BVS, but they made him rush there, and it's still a masterpiece, and it's still the greatest comic book movie out there.
It
You know what I
still
mean?
is. It is.
So
It is.
think
It is.
that going forward.
And because I believe it was Belle who said that she liked Zack Snyder's Justice League, but she didn't love it on the level that she did Batman v Superman. And we know, Val, that Batman v Superman is your go-to. We know all about it. Shout out to Rhea and Belle Reeve, aka the Furies. And I do hope that Sil Abdul does more episodes with the Furies coming up, more Coffee Talk Furies episodes, because the Furies are absolutely amazing. Yeah. And this is, but again, I love that, and I love Belle's like devotion to BVS as like the greatest movie of all time. It is fantastic. Like I sit there and I look at it. I'm like, every time I watch BVS now, I think about it on that level. I think of Belle. I'm like, this is like the greatest movie of all time, according to Belle Reeve. But no, we're at that, we're at that point now where, like you said, we're finding as time goes on, we're finding out more and more about what Zach originally wanted. And then there was this controversy over allegedly the music that was being used in the Henry Cavill cameo for Black Adam that they didn't use. They're not using the Hans Zimmer music. They're using the John Williams Superman, iconic Superman music. And then come to find out, according to Sil and Mikey, that Zack Snyder originally wanted to use the John Williams Superman music for Henry Cavill, but Warner Brothers didn't want him to do that, and that's why they brought in Hans Zimmer to create a different theme.
Right.
Now, I'm going to say that is probably one of the most shocking things that I could have heard about Zack Snyder if it's true.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say that that they're wrong or whatever, but for me, from my perspective, it's like that Hans Zimmer music that was created for Superman is also very iconic. It fits in very well with Henry Cavill's depiction of the character. 100%. So I'm not going to say that it. I'm kind of stuck on this one, Vega, because on the one hand, I like the fact that, hey, well, Zach always wanted to use John Williams. If that's the case, that's cool.
Zach's on record saying that. That's what it is. I think Zach is on record.
He is on record. Maybe he is.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
See, that's the thing. Zach says a lot of stuff. And if he's on record saying that he wanted to use the John Williams Superman music, then we need to accept it. And the problem is people are so just broken up over Justice League. They're suffering so much pain and anguish over this movie that no, you can't use the John Williams theme for Henry Cavill because that's Justice League. That's not Snyder. But if Snyder is on record saying that he wanted to use John Williams, then what are you doing? Now you're arguing with Snyder because Snyder's actually getting an opportunity to provide that theme for Henry Cavill. But my question is, and this is a big question I have, if Zach really felt that way and really wants to use the John Williams Superman theme, why didn't he use the John Williams Superman theme in the Snyder Cut or some form of it in addition to the Hans Zimmer theme. Like there's a way he could have transitioned from the Hans Zimmer theme into the Superman theme. And maybe that's something that is supposed to happen somewhere down the line in Justice League 2 and 3. I don't know about you, but I could see Zach doing something like that if that was his initial plan. Like at first, you get the Hans Zimmer, more dour but hopeful theme, and then it eventually transitions into the triumphant John Williams Superman music once Henry Cavill's version of Superman becomes the full-fledged red and blue Superman.
You know what? I feel like you just went into the psyche of Zach, and I feel like that might be his play. I think the reason he wouldn't use the John Williams ones now is because to that maybe more so because of what you're saying, or just because the reality is the Hans Zimmer one, as you said, has become is an iconic sound to this Superman. So why steer away from that? But at the same time, Zack is capable of steering away in the same way that he did with Wonder Woman in Zack Snyder's Justice League. He didn't stick to her original theme song. He allowed Junkie XL to like play with it and kind of use different sounds to her theme every time she would appear. It wasn't just the it came here and there, but then apart from that, it was this very operish or cry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This was I'm wondering if this was more Junkie XL than Zack Snyder. Right. Because to be honest with you, I remember Junkie XL allegedly, according to him, had an entirely different score for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And when they decided to, Warner Brothers gave the go-ahead to continue working on Zack Snyder's Justice League, Junkie XL, Tom Hulkenberg, went ahead and scrapped the original score that he had completely and did a brand new score, and Zach just let him do it. So right. I'm wondering, so part of me is really curious about that other score that he had before he scrapped it all and decided to do a brand new score. Right. And the Savage Bat says, "I'm done with panicking fans. We are getting what we want. It's already happening. A waste of time arguing with peasants who will never." That's a great point. And the great and beautiful Belle Reeves says, "I'm looking forward to Black Adam. It's a DCEU film coming out this year. I must support it. And Hawkman and Dr. Fate. Hell yeah. Yes. Release the hype engine." Great comment, Belle. Yes. Absolutely. That's Listen, cool. It's amazing. And then we've got Rhea saying Hawkman. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to see Hawkman and Dr. Fate and Black Adam?
Come on now.
I just don't want to see these characters at the expense of characters that we need to see more of that we haven't seen more of. And that's right. The thing. It's like you let Zach finish whatever his plan is now, and you allow, DC, and you allow it to be part of the greater DC, and you allow it to grow organically over the next 10 years. And I think everybody will be happy. As Neil Seven says here, Zach is a master chef of pure cinema. I couldn't agree more with these comments. These comments are off the chain tonight, Vega. We got Kevin saying here, "I'd be in the chat, but I'm driving. What's up, Zod and Vega?" What's up, Kevin? Good to see you, man. Great to see you. And Bell says, "Oh yeah, I know he had a different plan, but still, I'm glad it happened." I say pure Snyder because, like Oh Boy said, he did his best with what he could. Yeah. I agree. I think we're looking at the development of something that's going to be great. And Neo 7 says BVS is goated. Absolutely.
100%.
And Retro Nerd Girl, what's up, Retro?
Hey.
I had her on Late Night Q&A last week. It was absolutely fantastic. If you haven't checked out my interview with Retro Nerd Girl, it is on the channel and for all to enjoy. Retro Nerd Girl says, "Hey, ZodWriter and Il Divino Vega. I am a little late, but happy to catch the stream. Always a pleasure to have you, Retro Nerd Girl. Thank you so much for coming."
Yes, thank you.
And we got the Savage Bat ready for war, but he says, "I'm done fighting with people. We are getting what we want now. It's already happening. Yeah, no point in arguing with peasants that will never be happy. If you don't trust Zack Snyder, I don't trust you." Wow, that is profound. That is pure savage right there. That is pure savage. And we've got Rhea shouting out some people, and shouting out Retro Nerd Girl, of course. Everybody showing Retro Nerd Girl love as they should. Kevin says BVS is unmatched, not even close. Yeah, BVS is a phenomenal film.
It is what it is, man.
Absolutely. We gotta be, I mean, we gotta be honest about all of this here. We can't lie here. We can't sit here as lifelong members of Release the Snyder Cut and now Restore the Snyderverse with a straight face and say that that's not top tier, that's not God tier stuff, that Hans Zimmer is not top tier. I mean, come on. Yes, it's unbelievable, all of this stuff. I mean, we're looking at all this. Oh, you're saying Zach is trolling about the Superman theme? Maybe he is. I don't know.
Might be.
He could be.
I mean, it's these guys have their finger on the pulse, man. They got the ear to the streets. Like they know what's going on. I don't want to say whatever they're doing, it's with the good intentions. It's who doesn't want to? Who doesn't? I mean, as you said, who doesn't want to hear the John Williams one? Also, like I think that would be a dope thing to do. In the further future.
Yeah, and of course now I have to read another Belle Reeve comment. Thank you so much, Belle, for your astounding comments here. You are awesome. Belle says, "I like that every version of Batman and Superman we get in live action has its individual unique theme.
Thanks.
I wouldn't want Batfleck to have Keaton's iconic theme. That BVS Batman music matches Ben's Bat." I agree. It does. It totally does. And Belle, to your point, if you notice in the theatrical cut of Justice League, Danny Elfman was the composer for the music. And as you know, Danny Elfman was the composer for Michael Keaton for Batman and Batman Returns, and therefore he used Michael Keaton's Batman music. And when he was interviewed, and this kind of ticked me off because Danny Elfman is so arrogant. When he was interviewed, he actually said, when they asked him about why he used the Michael Keaton Batman music for Justice League, he said that in his mind, there's only one Batman theme and there's only one Superman theme, which was why he used John Williams' Superman for Henry Cavill in the theatrical cut of Justice League. I'm trying to be kind about it and not keep calling it Justice League, just simply because some people do take offense to that. But I again also, so when you say theatrical cut, I kind of feel a little bit better. But and Neil Sevens agrees with Bell on that. Retro Nerd Girl says, "I am so used to associating the John Williams score with Christopher Reeve. Would love the new score a little more. Just my opinion." Yeah, I mean that's my thing too. I don't know unless again, like Neil Sevens was pointing out, that it's more of a hero's journey kind of a thing where the Hans, like what we were saying a few minutes ago about the Hans Zimmer music eventually transforming into the Christopher, like a butterfly kind of a thing, where it eventually blossoms into that once Henry Cavill's Superman is the full-blown Superman of the comics and of the iconic that everybody already knows outside of what Zack Snyder has created. And maybe that's Zack's plan. Maybe that was the point, that eventually he will be that Superman, and therefore he will have that John Williams theme. Who knows? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm really questioning whether or not that's going to be the case. I don't know.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, like, here's the thing. Like, I get what Bell Rivers saying. Bell Rivers saying, because that is what makes BVS BVS. It's the fact. It is the score. The score to that movie, the theme songs to each character, is what gives it creates the vibe, the atmosphere.
yes.
It is part of the character. Those theme songs are part of those characters, and I think the only reason, if there was going to be a change, the only exception would be it would be Superman, and I think it's to the point of the hero's journey where, you know, if you really, for me, what I felt like what Zach was trying to do with Superman was, let's bring him back into the forefront, right? Like, let's bring him back to his pinnacle, which last
Yes.
time was, in the Christopher Reeves era. That was when Superman was at his highest pinnacle. After the more recent years, obviously it's been Batman, right? Batman is the face of DC. Let's just face it; it is what it is. From TV, comics, movies, right? It's been Batman, 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 and I love Batman, so trust me, that doesn't bother me none. But I feel like the intentions of Zach was to pretty much put Superman back in his rightful place as the face of DC, the head of every comic book character that exists after him. You know, um, so it would make sense to, if he was to end it like you said, where Hans Zimmer at the end of it all transforms the theme song into the John Williams theme song to let us know, like, this is Superman, this is where he belongs. He
That's really the only thing that makes sense to
so
me.
he's the only exception. I don't think it
Yeah.
would be any of the other. It wouldn't be Batman. It wouldn't
No,
be.
no.
No, I think their theme songs should remain. They are part of the character. I mean, and again, even the Hans Zimmer one for Superman, it is what it is. But the thing is, as we said, we haven't even seen the full evolution of the story of that Zach had intended for Henry Cavill Superman. So when we get there, we'll know for sure. Whether he does it or not, honestly, I don't think it'll make or break the point that he's gonna, sell, overall with the story of Henry Cavill. But if he did do it, it would make sense that he does do it in that form of fashion.
I agree. Kevin says here, wish they would have kept Batman's BVS theme for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And Neo7 says, too many people are hamstrung with the past iterations. Bell Reeves says, BVS soundtrack is way better than the Zack Snyder's Justice League soundtrack. Yes, I said it. I agree with you, though, Bell. I think,
It is.
again, I really want to see, want to hear what Junkie XL's original score for Zack Snyder's Justice League was, because as we know, he completely scrapped it and decided to go with a brand new score. And Zach just let him do it because I think Zach was just excited. Like, yeah, go ahead, do what you want. Balls to the wall, because guess what? The fact that this movie is even happening is a miracle. So go ahead, do you.
Yeah.
The Savage Bat says Hans Zimmer traveled back in time and taught John Williams everything he knew and ever made. There you go. That makes perfect sense.
Savage.
That actually makes sense.
Savage.
Savage is on fire tonight. Everybody, Superman's rogue theme in Zack Snyder's Justice League, though. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. To your point, that I feel like, that's the thing we'll never know for sure, right? Like, I think right now we're at a point where, like, yeah, I think we all can agree that BVS is the better film. I think so, right? Like, just because of everything that it hits, from the story to the characters to the score, everything is just makes it a masterpiece that makes it just a better film than Zack Snyder's Justice League. But are we saying that because technically Zack Snyder's Justice League isn't a pure follow up from BVS, as well as Junkie XL's first score that he had planned, like everything that was at that point that would have followed up BVS no longer is. So maybe that's why like now we're dealing with this, in a sense, alternate reality of this film of Junkie XL score that now exists, and BVS now apparently is still the better film. Maybe it would have been different if we would have actually seen the actual, Justice League that Zach intended with the actual score Junkie XL had intended, and we probably would have been like, "Yo, this it just gets better. It just gets better."
Right, we would have been so pumped, like, this is what we're doing.
Right.
Belle Reeve says, question for the panel: why is BVS so good? Well, Belle, I think that BVS is so good. The simplest way to answer that question is just to say that Zack Snyder is ahead of his time.
Mm, mm. Man, there's just so much good about that movie, man. Like,
right. Like you can't have, that discussion. It's like he's ahead of his time, and a lot of people now are just coming around to the brilliance of Batman v Superman.
I mean, let's just, man, I don't want to pinpoint it on anything, but if I would pinpoint something, if I would, and I think I'm gonna dare to just tonight, what I will say is it does come down to Batman and Superman in the same film, facing off each other in the same film. You know what I mean? Like it's unprecedented at that moment in that time when it was released. It was never done. Superheroes fighting each other, iconic characters head to head on the big screen. Obviously we know that it exists in the Frank Miller, for comic book heads and anybody who's watched even the Dark Knight Return movies, the animated movies. But I'm talking about the major audience, for those who probably were fans of Superman and Batman, whatever, just on a movie perspective, or maybe the TV shows and things of that nature. Zach just put this beautiful imagery from the panels of Frank Miller to the screen in motion, in beautiful like color grading. Batman's armored suit looking up at Superman in the sky, looking down at him, and the dialogue of Lex Luthor before it even goes down, where he's all like black and blue, day versus night, saying God versus man, this how he's amping up the fight.
Right, the hype that was built for that was insane. Like,
you know what I mean? And then when they finally meet each other, it's like holy cow! And then the rain coming down, which makes everything better. As Cyborg says in Teen Titans Go, the rain's coming down, and yeah,
why is it raining? Oh, it just makes it look cool.
It just makes it look cool.
That's what we got to get into. We totally got sidetracked and glossed over the Teen Titans Go, so we got to talk a little bit about that too before we end things here. Neil7 says, didn't Junkie XL eventually use some of the original Justice League score for Alita? Yes. That's the urban legend. And the Savage Bat says, BVS will always be number one simply for being original in a world full of copy and paste superhero movies. It changed the game forever. Absolutely. 100% agree. And I know Belle Reeve agrees 100% as well. And Belle asks, is it me or does BVS get better with time? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It does. It ages like fine wine. Whereas, can we really say that about Zack Snyder's Justice League? Zack Snyder's Justice League is a great film, but it doesn't transcend the genre in the way that BVS did.
Yeah. I will say I feel it does get better with time, but for some reason I still find myself watching BVS before I watch Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yes, but, absolutely. And when you watch them together like that, you got to have a whole weekend. But the thing of it is that yes, you can bask in the awesomeness of pure cinema because Zach is cinema. And Lord Koj, what's up? Koj says BVS
my brother
simply is the bar. And he says, much love, y'all. Much love to you too, Lord Koj. As always, brother. And Retro Nerd Girl says, responding to Belle Reeve, says, "Oh yes, every time I see it, it gets better." I think we can all agree on BVS. You're not going to find any BVS haters here at all. At all. I think we can all agree that BVS changed the genre in so many ways.
Right.
And we've got everybody shouting out and saying hello to Lord Koj, giving
What up, Lord?
a lot of greetings going around here. And Belle Reeve says, "Yeah, at that roof scene in BVS looked like it was ripped straight out of the comic book." Oh, absolutely,
Man, it
absolutely.
doesn't get any better.
It doesn't get any better. I mean, and we can go on and on about all the iconic imagery that we got from BVS. We can talk about how the warehouse scene felt like something straight out of the Arkham games for those that play video games and enjoy Batman related video games. Honestly, it BVS was so epic on so many levels, and the fact that the studio got cold feet because of a vocal minority of loud and ridiculous, obnoxious Christopher Reeve worshipers.
Insane.
It's insanity to me. It's insanity to me. I mean, for people that hate on Man of Steel, it's like all the people that, if you're hating on Man of Steel, then Superman Returns should have been the highest grossing Superman film of all time.
Yeah.
Because Superman Returns was a love letter to the Christopher Reeve, and actually takes place in the Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner continuity of Superman films. So if you really think about it, Vega, all of these self-entitled crybabies got the version of Superman that they wanted in Brandon Routh in Superman Returns, but yet they complained about Henry Cavill. They complained about what Zack Snyder did. They complained about the decisions that Zack made and the story beats and all this other stuff. But for me, it's like, y'all didn't like Superman Returns either. So if you wanted a continuation of the Donnerverse, then y'all should have worshipped Superman Returns.
Yeah.
And, gave Bryan Singer more credit and kept chasing after that film, because there's a reason why that movie didn't get a sequel.
There is a reason. There is a reason.
I mean, that's why I'm saying I'm always baffled by the hate that Zack Snyder got for his take on Superman when you consider what came before.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to tell me that Superman Returns was a better movie than Man of Steel, I'm just going to look at you. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to look.
Believe me when I say I've heard. I want to say I was on a long time ago. I was on Little Centeno show, and there was a guy who actually had the nerve to say that. And I'm like, dude, you are crazy.
What was his reasons for saying that? I mean, where
all he said was that it was the because it was a more attuned to the Christopher Reeves continuity and the essence of Superman.
Yeah, but if you support that, if you really believe that that's the case, that it was the essence of Superman and it followed up Christopher Reeve the way you wanted, why didn't more people go see the film?
Well, that's the thing. It's like you said, it was a vocal minority, and not to be too harsh, but I think the minority was just a bunch of old folks that were just holding on to the Christopher Reeve Superman. I don't see any. I never saw anybody who was my age or around our age, down talking about Christopher Reeve Superman. Nobody was saying that crap. You know what I mean? So I think it was just that. It was just a bunch of old heads that wanted more Christopher Reeve's version of Brandon Routh, and they were probably the ones who did go see Superman Returns in theaters. They were probably the ones that did gross that film to 300 million, but it's not enough.
It just to me, I don't get it. If you really feel that way and you're slavish to the Donnerverse and you want to have more of the Christopher Reeve Superman, That's what they tried to give you with Superman Returns, and you shunned it. So that proves that you are not ever going to make any of these people, any of these basement dwellers happy at all.
I'll be honest. It honestly though, like it's just insane to me that they even did that film. To be honest with you, because at that time we already had the Dark Knight. We already had MCU doing their thing, and the costumes, the armors. You know what I'm saying? Like everything was more modern and just legit looking. And the fact that they had the nerve to say, "Hey, put on some tidy whitey, some tidy onesies suits of Superman from way back in the day, and this is gonna be a good movie." And I don't, like it's insane to even think that they actually thought that it was gonna do something.
I
Um,
know, I know.
in the time that it was released, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right. It made no
it
sense.
made no sense. I'm like,
And
yo, what are you saying?
it's like, wait, you're actually expecting this to be a success?
Right. It was
You
like
want you think it's gonna be good? You guys think it's gonna be great? I
you're right.
mean,
It's the equivalence of them saying, "Let's put out a Batman movie of Adam West in his and like a
in
Batman."
his heyday, yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah. Like what? Who? Nobody would see that in the
they
like.
could have got Richard Gere to play Adam West. Belle Reeve says, and I'm so proud that Belle Reeve is announcing this on my stream tonight. I'm gonna just change my channel name to BVS. Okay, well there you go, Belle. Hey, that's awesome. Do it. Lord Koj says BVS never grows stale. Not many films do that. Absolutely, facts,
Absolutely,
Lord Koj.
absolutely.
See, that's that's the truth. Yeah, welcome to Belle Reeve BVS Ultimate Edition channel. There you go. That works. That works. Belle Reeve says the warehouse scene is the best live action Batman kicking ass ever. No
Yes,
argument. Can't
yes.
Nobody can disagree with that.
Nobody,
Nobody
nobody,
can.
nobody.
Nobody can. And again, I agree with all your points about Superman Returns, Vega. I don't understand. You're at the time that came out, it's like people just don't realize they tried to continue with the Christopher Reeve universe. They tried to continue with Richard Donner. They
Right,
tried,
right,
and it didn't work. It
right.
didn't work at the box office. That's why we got Man of Steel,
Exactly.
because the vision for more of Christopher Reeve's Superman was not what people wanted, clearly,
Clearly, simple as said.
because that whole movie was a love letter to the Donner. Right, all the music was from the Donner
Yep.
movies.
Yeah.
All of the characters were from the Donner movies. The
Yep.
plot was even very similar to that of the first Superman movie. I
Yep.
mean, you had so much in there that was just pure Donnerverse that it made, right down to the Fortress of Solitude, Marlon Brando back as Jor-El. I mean, you had everything. I don't know what people are, like, and if they really wanted more of that, they should have supported it. That's all I'm saying. Like, I
Yeah.
can't for the
No.
life of me understand. So you're gonna crap on Zack Snyder because he provides us with a more modern, updated version of Superman, and you're gonna complain about all the things that he did, but you don't care about, but you didn't care enough about Brandon Routh as Superman to make that movie a hit, so that they would make more movies in that continuity.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That warehouse scene was original too, not like Dread copying the Raid BVS warehouse scene. Outrated the Raid, absolutely. Well cast, well acted, well written, well directed, constructed DC at peak levels. Absolutely.
100%.
Uh, Lord Koj says, Faxad, the antis have their Superman with Returns and the CW.
Yeah. There you go.
And Bell says, yeah, definitely BVS is a straight up adult comic film, not that MCU crap. Absolutely. I agree. Yo, Lord Koj, everybody shout out. Shout out to the great Adega Outlaw. Always a pleasure to see Adega in the chat. What's up, Adega? Hope you're doing well, brother. Lord Koj says BVS was better than The Dark Knight Returns for me. For one, BVS understood Superman better than The Dark Knight Rises. Well, absolutely, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Neo7 says, I felt entertained and challenged by the film. Let's see.
Yes.
Retro Nerd Girl says, I'm so glad we all have so much love for BVS. Well, yeah. And we always talk about how much we love BVS, especially when we have Belle Reeve in the chat. Just saying. I mean, when you talk about someone who's like an uber BVS fan, you look no further than one of the Furies, Belle Reeve, for that inspiration. And Belle Reeve says, Chris Reeve is iconic, but so is Henry's, and Henry is our modern Superman.
Yes.
That Chris Reeve soups won't work in today's cinema. Just my opinion.
Well,
Well, it's actually fact. It's actually fact that the Chris Reeve won't work because they tried to do it.
They tried it and
Again, Superman Returns is living proof.
Yep.
Every inch of Superman Returns, every foot of film of Superman Returns is a love letter to Richard Donner's Superman.
Exactly.
There's so much. They even I remember Bryan Singer had stated that he had actually reached out. I think Richard Donner himself had said something about they had reached out to him for certain things for Superman Returns. And it shows. It makes sense. It's a complete continuation of that continuity. What people don't understand, and I think what people missed, is Brandon Routh is playing Christopher Reeve Superman in that movie.
Yes, exactly.
And I think maybe they made the mistake. The mistake they made with Superman Returns was changing up the suit. They should have made this. They should have had Brandon Routh in Christopher Reeve's Superman suit, and it might have went over a little better. I think the point might have been hammered home a little better, because the suit that they used in Superman Returns, I don't know, man. It was just kind of, I mean, it didn't even really feel like a modern version of the Christopher Reeve suit. It just felt weird. And I was seeing all these Walmart pajamas around that time, modeled off of that suit. It looked like a pajama suit. It really did.
Yeah, it's. I'll tell you this much. Did you ever get to see the? Oh, I'm pretty sure you did. There was like the Nicolas Cage Superman they were gonna do.
Yeah,
even his suit was better.
Oh yeah, with the Christmas lights and all the goofy stuff they were planning on using. That documentary, by the way, from the late great John Schnepp, that documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, is fantastic. For those that are curious about Superman movie lore, I highly recommend that watching that, and you'll enjoy it. There's a great interview with Kevin Smith where he talks about his ideas and trying to get what he wanted done through the studio, and they even interview that producer John Peters, and it is absolutely hilarious. There's so much greatness in that documentary. I think people, if you haven't seen it, it's more entertaining than Superman Returns. Just saying. That documentary.
It is.
Also, Lord Koj says the sound design for BVS is perfection for me. Oh yeah, dude. Sound design. Snyder successfully modernized Superman. He absolutely did.
Yep.
And Belle Reeve says, imagine a Superman waking up with a smile on his face every morning, saving cats out of trees. Well, that's kind of what we got. See, the problem with Brandon Routh playing Superman is that he played like a depressed version of the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah.
See, what they should have did is they should have made him more upbeat like Christopher Reeve. They tried to dour down the Donner verse, and I think that's what did it by turning Superman into a deadbeat dad, and basically turning Superman into Stalker Man and having him outside of Lois Lane's window hovering.
Yeah, that was weird.
I mean, that was just straight up weird. I mean, if they were gonna go, I didn't really mind them going with the idea of Superman having a son or whatever. I think they could have developed that, and that could have been something cool, because that's what they're doing on that Superman and Lois TV show now anyways.
Right.
he's got kids and all that, and they have one has superpower. I don't know, but the idea that you know, and they made Lois Lane so just bitter and weird. She like had the perfect boyfriend, but she was. I mean, this is the thing I don't get about Lois Lane in Superman Returns. She had this. She was with Superman, right?
Right.
And then she gets the next best thing, like the next best guy on Earth after Superman.
Right. Yeah.
And she still seemed like she was dour and depressed and like the world was coming to an end.
Yeah.
That, I think, was the problem with Superman Returns. They tried too hard to make it like real life and giving Superman those problems when the Donnerverse was more fantastical and was less like real life and was more like a comic book. And they really should have stuck to that with Superman Returns, and I think it would have did better with the Christopher Reeve purists.
Or here's a thought: you should have just never done Superman Returns.
Well, not with that story. I'm just saying, not with that story. I mean,
in general, honestly, I don't think it should have ever came out at all. Like, it should have just been Man of Steel.
It should have been scrapped. It should have been scrapped like Batgirl.
Yeah, exactly.
The moment they saw the dailies of what the hell they were doing, it should have been just like, I wish they would have had a Zaslav back then, and it would have just been like, no, we're gonna have a funeral showing for this crap. Because for real, I mean, honestly, I agree. I don't think it should have been made. It really was one of those movies where
it's way past its time. That's my whole thing. I just don't feel it was. It's past its time. You know, like
it was past its time at the time it came out. Exactly. Like for real.
Yeah,
people were just like, no, this is not what we want out of Superman, right?
Yeah, I mean, not only that. Here's the thing: like you're bringing a movie. You're bringing in this version of Superman as if, oh, he's been here this whole time, and so we're gonna pick off where he left off in the last Donner film, or kind of, not really, but you know what I'm saying, like, and he's still the same Christopher Reeve Superman, and this is where he's at now, and it's like, I don't think anybody's like the general audience is familiar with a Superman movie that came out 20 years ago, you know. So the right idea was Man of Steel. You want to reintroduce Superman and reintroduce him to a modern audience. That one is audiences of or fans of Superman that are following the modern version of him. Yes. So they're going to recognize what they're seeing on the screen, and then the general audience that doesn't know much about Superman, but that's also being pulled in by this character who's more relatable, you know, with this story, and it's more modern in time. So the story around him is a story that everybody can relate to and identify as things that are happening in real life. You know, it was almost as it's not almost the thing with Man of Steel for me personally is it was just as genius, even though it was just as genius to me as The Dark Knight, where you're taking this fictional character and you're trying to ground it into the reality of our lives as much as possible. I mean, you could only do so much with Superman because he is too fictional of a character, right? Batman is more, you can kind of bring him down to a really realistic thing, and that's what the Dark Knight trilogy is, right? But I feel like that's what they did with Man of Steel. I feel like Zack grounded that character as much as he possibly could to draw in such a heavy audience, which he successfully did, you know, while still making sure like Superman is still Superman in his super way of being, you know, in his powers and the things he's battling, morally or ideally and things of that nature. It's just such a compelling film, and to me personally, that's what brought me back to loving Superman was Man of Steel. I kind of
relatability to the character.
Yeah, it was because he was relatable, and I was like, man, I this is a version of Superman I can get with, you know, and man, that's what brought me back to Superman. Honestly, was Man of Steel.
And Retro Nerd Girl says, for me, the story was insanely good in BVS. Lex Luthor's master plan displayed his incredible intellect. Yes. What a smart script.
Yes.
And Lord Kojay says, Forcing a smile on Superman sounds like something the Joker would do, and haters of Snyderverse are clowns. I see the connection. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And Retro Nerd Girl responds, "Facts, Lord Koj." And Neo7 says, "Violent crimes are committed every 25 seconds in the U.S., but these dopes want to see Superman save a cat out of a tree." Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. Now, Bell Reeve says, "Seeing Superman drag a naval ship across a ice ocean with a look of sadness because the world doesn't appreciate him, but does the right thing anyway, is the modern Superman I
Yes.
want to see."
Yes. Yes. 100%. 100%. And those are the things that Zach was capsulating for us, or capturing for us in every panel and every shot. It was like we are seeing the struggle of Superman trying to exist in our world, even though he's not from our world, but he technically is because he was raised on our world. He had a lot going on, man, and on top of that, doing all these things to save mankind, and yet dealing with the pressure of the world still questioning what he's doing, which in itself is a relatable thing, right? Like, in the same fact that, like, anybody who stands up to do something that's right, especially in this day and age, 9 times out of 10 causes you to go against the grain, go against whatever the main agenda is, and you're looked at, even though you're doing the heroic thing, you're looked at as the villain, or like you're doing something bad. That's that's how our movement got why we have the stigma we have, is because we were doing
Yes.
something good. We were doing something good, going against the grain, and yet we were looked at by, or not looked at, but posed to be the villains, and I think films like BVS allowed us to understand that despite this narrative that they think of us, or they're trying to portray on us, we're still going to move forward, and that's exactly what we did. you know
That's a great point. And Lord Koj has a question for Il Divino Vega. Which is your favorite figure behind you?
Ooh, that's a tough question, man. Ooh, I don't even know, man.
The fact that you had to look tells us everything. It means you really don't know. You
I
have no
really
idea.
don't know, man. I guess if I'm gonna narrow it down, though, to give an answer, I'm going to go with Loki. Oh, well, he's behind. But okay, in the center right there's the BVS armored Batman in the middle, right there, right there. You can't see it because the glare from the plastic, but that's the armored BVS Batman. It would be that one. That's probably my favorite
There you
figure.
go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And DC Talk with Extended says, "What's up, Zod and Vega? What's up,
What's
DC?
going on, DC
Good,
Talk?
good to see you, man."
Yes,
And
sir.
Bell Reeves says, "Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex performance is underrated and misunderstood." I
100%.
I agree. And Lord Koj agrees 100%. Zod, they should have kept the same suit and shot it like it was an 80s movie. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
That probably would have came
Make,
off better. Yeah.
make it kind of like literally in that continuity, and you probably could have made it cheaper too, because that movie came out in 2006, and the last Superman movie we got before Returns was Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, which came out in 1987. So you have a big gap there, and if they would have shot it like an 80s movie, there was a fan film that came out around the same time as Superman Returns called Superman Requiem, in which they tried to, and there was another movie that tried to stick, it was an independent film that tried to stick close to, in with the Donnerverse continuity, and it was a pretty interesting film, and it later grew on to get the reputation. People call it Superman Rectum, but we won't go into that. Again, everybody craps on all these Superman movies, no matter what no matter what the creators do. So it's kind of yeah. This ain't the 70s anymore. The population went up at least 2 billion. I thought Brandon Routh was doing an impression of Christopher Reeve, but he talks and acts just like that in real life. Yeah, that's true. Brandon Routh was just basically
So
playing
good.
Brandon Routh as
Right.
Superman. Yeah, I agree.
That's
I
a good
agree.
point. Good
I
point.
agree with Retro Nerd Girl on that
Yep.
100%. Let's see what else we got here. Let's get caught up with the chat. Imagine Christopher Reeve Superman fighting Zack's dark side. Nope, won't work. Bell,
Mm.
Bell, don't write that off yet, because I have a feeling, and this in Vega, this is something I wanted to ask you about. I've got this feeling that somewhere along the line there's going to be some sort of multiverse battle with Darkseid, and
Mm.
they are going to dig up Christopher Reeve via CGI and have him there to fight
Mm.
to fight alongside the other heroes against Darkseid. Now I can totally see it happening because technology is getting to that point where they can recreate actors now that
Right.
have
Right.
been long dead, and they can bring them back and put them in movies. So yeah, Bell, I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. But he won't be fighting Zack Snyder's Darkseid alone. He'll
Right.
be it'll be a big multi hero team up kind of a thing. But I mean, I would say to expect that eventually. I
Mm.
honestly would. I think that's closer than we think to actually happening,
I
because
think they definitely have the technology for it. I will say that. I don't know if they would, simply because I probably would have agreed more if the DC brand of characters wasn't expanding, right? Um, I personally always felt that they were eventually going to go down the route of kind of like the Justice League animated series, where like the good guys and the bad guys have to team up to go against Darkseid. I always felt like that was the route that they were going to go with it.
yeah, it's kind of it's kind of wild, and but again, having the technology to do it, and
Yeah.
again, you can actually satiate the appetite
Well,
and appeal to these fanboys by having Christopher Reeve Superman in a film
correct
again.
me if I'm wrong, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could see maybe that happening, although I'm people are gonna probably not disagree because this is technically, I guess, something that happened during the Hamada regime. But if I'm correct, um, Brandon Routh on CW coming back as the Kingdom Come Superman, isn't that Christopher Reeve Superman 2, just as
Yeah.
Kingdom Come? So
Yes.
I think if what you're saying is true, it'd be more likely that they would use him in that scenario of bringing in different Supermans to fight Darkseid. I think they would do that before they do the like CGI thing.
Yeah. I mean, but it would
Because
be
Superman Returns does exist,
it
unfortunately.
would get a it would get a huge pop though if you suddenly saw you're sitting in a theater and you suddenly see Christopher Reeve come flying out of the grave to fight Darkseid. I
You
mean,
know,
it's just
you know what I would think actually would happen, and somebody did this. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. They had like a bunch of stills of Henry Cavill's Superman in Man of Steel, where he's doing the getting ready to destroy the change engine, and
right.
there's certain shots where his face looks like Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeves, that was intentional
Yeah,
from
so I could
from
see
Zack
that being
Snyder.
done when
Yeah.
he faces Dark Side.
Yeah, that actually could work. That actually could work. Where they eventually have, and they actually have him where they have a shot where he's coming at Darkseid, and he
And
literally
he,
is Christopher Reeve at that moment.
yes,
And that could go back to what we were talking about at the top of the show when we talked
John
about
Williams
the John
score.
Williams theme being used
Yes,
to
yes.
eventually. I believe it now, because think about this. when Zack Snyder put those shots in Man of Steel, where it was Christopher Reeve's face, it was intentional because
Right.
essentially what he's trying to show is, again, like we were saying, the hero's journey. So eventually we'll get to that John Williams Superman triumphant score. That means that Superman is back. Yeah, I'm convinced now. I think that's what Zach was going for all along, and nobody saw it. Nobody got it. Nobody understood that eventually Henry Cavill's Superman would become the traditional Superman that all of the world knows of.
Right.
Thank you for being here, Belle Reeve. Appreciate all your great comments tonight. Thank you so much for participating. This was awesome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Superman Returns exists, unfortunately. Yeah, it would be Brandon then. Yeah, well, it depends. Depends what version they want to use for the fight with Darkseid. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but who knows? We might have Kingdom Come Brandon, and then we might have Superman 78 flying out of the grave being Christopher Reeve. But no, I think it's more likely, Vega, to be just that, where eventually Henry Cavill's Superman will become the more traditional beacon of Superman of what we know of him.
Right.
And that means that there will be, Zach would be justified in using the Richard Donner theme at that point.
Right.
But that's only once he goes through the journey. So up until that point, I expect him to still be coming out to the regular Hans Zimmer score. Yes. But once he gets to that point, the Hans Zimmer score will suddenly transition, and it can be done beautifully if you think about it. I've seen a few people do it on YouTube where they've taken the Hans Zimmer score and then they eventually transition into the triumphant John Williams. And so it can be done. It sounds great. It does fit. And for all we know, that's what he could have told Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
I need you to make a theme that can eventually transit, because we know how Zach does everything in post. I need you to create a theme that's going to eventually transition organically into the John Williams score.
Exactly.
Very, very possible.
Very possible.
Zach gave us a Superman journey, his learning curve that gets skipped, like how he became the legend we know. Exactly. Exactly. It's absolutely a wonderful thing, and I think we figured it out, Vega. To tell you the truth, I think it all makes sense at this point. It barely took us 2 hours. We figured it out. Yeah, I think we figured out Zach's whole plan for Superman.
Right. He's gonna watch this video and he's gonna be like, these guys figured me out.
Yeah. Lord Koj says, I like Hans Zimmer's score for Snyder Superman. Like Nolan has his and Burton has his. I can see it back for Zod's idea of using Reeves Superman with that. Yeah. I can, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I think we're onto something here, Vega, and we're definitely gonna have to talk more about this again in the future. I kind of want to wrap things up here and get your final thoughts, and also can you let everybody know what to expect from you coming up?
Yes. Look, first and foremost, pleasure being on the show. Everybody in the chat, great conversation, loved it. I got more music coming out for sure. Like I told you earlier, that just doesn't stop for me. This YouTube channel thing, I'm trying to keep that going on, the Chop Shop. I want to do an episode where I eventually get like me and Abu Naz and St. John to like get on a talk on how pretty much the creative process was to that song, which was Social Media Wars. But so the Chop Shop is pretty much the next thing that I'm trying to like build to just be able to connect more and have just different points of discussion, conversations, whatever it may be, like let wherever it goes, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's so much to talk about,
Oh, so. Yeah. And I will definitely I'll be looking forward to having you back on here again. This has been so much fun. Uh, I couldn't be happier with the discussion we had. So thank you very
Great.
much, Vega, for joining me tonight. It's been my honor to host tonight and to have you here. This has been episode number 74 of Late Night Q&A with ZodWriter. I've got something big planned for episode 75, so be looking out for that. And I just got to say again, this was amazing. Thank you so much for being here. And again, I want to thank everybody in the chat who came in here and hung out with me in Vega tonight. It was some of the most fun. It was some of the most fun, and it's always
Great.
a pleasure when the chat is interacting and just vibing with us. So that was wonderful. And with that, I just want to say good night, everybody. Thank you again. And Retro Nerd Girl gets the last word, says good night, everyone. Great chat. See you guys later. Peace.
Peace.